No hate, no shade, no the lady that tweeted this, but a lady said, at 30 years old, you telling me that you moving back in with your parents is just IDK. And what I do care is 45% of millennials and more Gen Zers is moving back in with their parents. And I can tell you why. Firstly, saying things like broke people shouldn't date makes a lot of sense. And I too second that notion. However, it is not realistic. Human beings are going to try to find a companion. And if I'm being honest, the cheapest thing to do right now is Netflix and with Netflix raising their rates every 3.5 months, that's becoming too expensive. We're going to have to bend it over at Barnes and Nobles. People go home to save money and save themselves from drowning in our student loan debt-filled, ratchet-ass economy river, not to impress other people. There is nothing wrong with having standards or wanting a man that's on his feet. However, if you know you cannot respect a man that has fallen off financially, there's no reason to stay in that relationship, belittle him, or ensure that both of you have a negative experience. Just go ahead and find you a man that's more equipped in this economy. And for those listening to this like, oh yeah, tell her to leave. Typical black single woman rhetoric. Yeah. Leave him. Because if you think a broke man is mean, you ain't never seen a woman with a broke man that wishes he had money. Them ladies are cruel.
And welcome back to Girl Talk TV. Today we will be discussing people moving back home. Life is getting too expensive, and right now people are getting real about their living expenses. Let's look at some of these videos.
And you don't have to worry about being crowded or none of that. You can go to work, get off work, save your money, like you're supposed to save your money. Now, the phone bill coming up, own space. So, you can do that. Same thing I'm trying to tell your sister.
People always say they want to be like you, but don't know what you have to do to be like you. One of the things people always tell me is like, how did you buy a house like that at 31? How did you buy a house like that at 31? I went back home. Bachelor's degree, husband, 2 kids in tow, went back home. My mother, and this is a privilege, right? Like, my mom had a house that was big enough for me and my family to be in. But let me tell you the story. I wanted to buy a house. I had written down my list. I wanted to get a bachelor's degree. I wanted to go into law school. I wanted to get a new car. I wanted all these things. And I told my mom about my list. And she was like, you're not going to get that paying New York City rent. Come home. And I was like, all right, come on. I'm grown. I'm not coming home. And my mom was like, if you want those things, you're going to have to sacrifice. Come home, make a plan, buy your house, and then go back and then do whatever you want to do. Needless to say, right, when I initially came home, it was only a 1-bedroom, right? My husband went with his mom for a little bit. My kids stayed with me. My mom fixed up the basement to make the basement of her house an apartment for us. And this is why you could never play with my mom. But she fixed up the apartment, made it a pace for us. We stayed there for 4 years. Any debt that I had, student debt, whatever debt that I had, we cleared up. Then, we made a little mistakes here and there with our finances because we had money now. We were both teachers. We were home. Like, we had extra money. We paid our bills, but we had extra money. But needless to say, my mom was like, okay, hey, let's think about the plan. What you're going to do is you're going to keep your salary since you make this amount of money. Your husband's salary is going to go into the pot for the house. And any extra money you do from other extra jobs is what you guys will spend on this, right? You're going to cut this. You're going to cut your amount into 4, put them in different pots, let that grow. And then you can go buy a house. I was like, all right, bet. I'm listening now. When you're a teenager, you don't want to listen to your mom, but I'm listening. Within 6 months, I had the money to buy my house. And my house, it's very nice. It's very nice. A house with a pool in Jersey. And granted, I know people don't want to come to Jersey, but I love it here. I'm never going back to Brooklyn. What I paid for this house is what I would have paid for a 2-bedroom house in Brooklyn. Now, a house is not for everyone. It is a lot of responsibility. But don't let anybody make you think that going back home is a step backward. If you have a village, use it. If you have to go backwards, that is just what it is. You go backwards and you have a plan to take 10 steps forward, period. Anyway, I went home. I figured it out. I did it. you can too. Don't let nobody make you feel ashamed.
Every time I'm at my mom's house, I'm like, I get an aha moment of making a TikTok. So, yes, currently sitting by my mother's pool. And it just dawned on me. Guys, I am 30 years old. And at this age, I am single. A part of me wants to live at home, and then the other part of me doesn't want to live at home. Like, why do I want to be so independent? Like, why can't I just live at home? And the truth is, I could live at home if I wanted to live at home. But that's what I battle with. A part of me wants to live at home, then the other part of me doesn't want to live at home. You know, like, it's just... And then I get my renewal letter. And my renewal letter is like, do you want to renew your lease? And I'm like, do I even want to live in the States right now? I am just like, $3,000 for rent? Why? Like, guys, seriously. Like, how long is it going to take me to buy a house? Single, independent. Where's my husband?
PSA, there is nothing wrong with moving back home. Moving back home is the reason why I feel like I have so much success today, because I was able to take an entire year and get my shit together. I know that that's not the story for everybody. Everybody doesn't have the opportunity to do that. It's unfortunate, but if you have the opportunity to move back home, you feel like it, completely do it. I don't know why we act like moving back home with your parents is such a bad thing to get yourself together. Life is hard. Economy is hard. All of that just contributes to the idea. If you ain't paying bills by the time you 18, you gotta go. We're the only people that do that. I had just got let go from my job. I could not find a job for anything. I was burning cash. My father called me and was like, you know, you can come back home if you want to, right? He literally drove all the way down to Tampa. We packed my stuff and I went back home for an entire year. I took that time to get my credit together, educate myself, build myself up. I worked on my resume countless times. Even though I didn't have any money, I applied for food stamps. Yes, Drake had food stamps. And there was nothing wrong with that. I was doing that to support myself because I honestly was not working. I had no income coming in whatsoever for an entire year. Thankfully, I had my big break November of that year when I found a job. By the time I found a job, I had already worked on my credit. I had got myself together on the back end to help me get there. I stayed home for about 2 to 3 months after that, and then I moved into my very first apartment by myself, and I've been by myself since. Your children should be allowed to lean on you as a parent no matter what age they are. We have to get rid of the notion that your children are just nothing if they're not contributing to you or benefiting you in some sort. Like, that's crazy to me. If everything fell for me right now, I will pack my shit up, go back home without thinking twice about it. I have no shame. As long as you're doing it to get yourself together, to put yourself in a better place, there's nothing wrong with it at all.
You got your own crib and you can't afford it, go back home and live with mama. It's okay. I graduated my master's and I stayed with me and my dad. We had started getting back on good terms. You know, I stayed with him for a year and a half before I moved out.
How old was you?
25.
See?
25. Out my master's. I was like, I ain't moving to the city because I can't afford it. I ain't have much saved up.
Self-awareness.
Yep. I was like, shit, I'm gonna make that sacrifice, stay with him for 2 years, and then I was up and I got my own spot for a year, and then I bought a house after that.
What stops a lot of people from doing that? What my homies gonna say? What
Pride and ego.
the chicks gonna say?
Listen, if your ego bigger than your bank account, you need to reevaluate, and we just gonna keep it above. That's just what it is. If you got too much ego to say, hey, I can't go back home to get my shit together because I want to live this type of life or I want to look a certain way, who you really trying to look good for? We just gonna keep it above. Most men, they trying to look good for the bitches on social media. No disrespect, I'm sorry, the women on social media. That's what they're trying to do. They want to look good for so-and-so to impress her, when it's like, bro, all you gotta do is be yourself.
How much money did you say that year staying with your pops?
Man, I was making 75.
See?
So all I had to do was help him with a couple bills, pay insurance and car note. Other than that, so I probably was saving a good 3 to 4, maybe 5.
Every
I ain't
month.
spend too much
If you
every
ain't-
month. Yeah, so that puts you in a good situation.
Save
But we don't
4,
think
5.
that. We turn 18 and say, hey, I got to get my own. I got to get out here and get it. Why? Why are you doing that to yourself? Other
Cultures
Asians
not like
don't do that. We the only ones who do that thing. I turn 18, I got to go.
And it's a lot of times it's the parents that saying now you 18, you have to go.
And if that's the case, find a roommate. You got friends. They parent might have said the same thing. Instead of, oh, no, I need my own spot. No, you want your own spot. If you can't afford it, it's okay. It's okay to say, hey, bro, I can't do this right now. Let me go stay in somebody's basement that might only charge me $500-$600 a month. Rather than trying to go get a 1-bedroom and spend in Atlanta, you're going to spend, what, $1,700, $1,900, $2,100 on a 1-bedroom?
Crazy.
because you want to live in the city, just be smart.
If you live with your parents, you better be making damn good use of that time.
Yeah.
It's disrespectful to your parents if you live with them because you want to follow your dreams and then you eat Cheetos and watch Netflix all the time.
Yeah.
Like I honestly would feel ashamed, you know?
There is nothing wrong with moving back home, especially in these hard times. I read a comment where someone said, I could never go back home. And I thought to myself, well, it's probably because you cannot go back home. You may not have the privilege to go back home like some others have that privilege to go home, to save their money, to get their life together because their family members see that life at this moment in time is hard. I don't judge anyone that feels like they have to go back home to start all over. Listen, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And if you have family members that's going to protect you while you're doing it, go for it. Until next time, bye.